When you think about rhythm games, what comes to mind? Plastic guitars with a measly 5 buttons on them? Frantically playing tap dance on a dance pad? How about an anthropomorphic rabbit in a world of vector graphics running along an obstacle course with loop-de-loops, spikes, and giant walls to vault over? Well, back in 1999, the world was greeted with exactly that. Except for us Americans. That game is Vib Ribbon. One of the most unique PS1 games out there, and one that to this day stands out among other rhythm games. This curious little gem was brought to us by Masaya Matsura, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, who was the mastermind behind Parappa the Rapper, another innovator in the rhythm game genre, and as for as quirky as that game may have been, Vib Ribbon still manages to come straight out of left field. This game stars an anthropomorphic rabbit named Vibri, who is just such an adorable little thing. The way she skips and sings in this digitized voice, it's impossible not to smile just a little bit at how cute this game is. Add on top of that, this game's utterly unique art style. The PS1 was the first mainstream console to popularize 3D graphics, and many developers jumped on board this new technology while abandoning 2D graphics. The end result is a plethora of games that looked impressive only at launch, if that. I know, low-hanging fruit, and there are PS1 games that managed to hold up decently due to utilizing unique visual techniques, such as Spyro and Crash Bandicoot, but even then, those games are still unequivocally PS1. Vib Ribbon utilizes something vastly different. Vector graphics. Very similar to early arcade games such as Asteroids. The entire game is constructed of vector lines, everything from the menus to Vibri herself. The end result is a visual style that is timeless, still looking as fresh today as it did back in 1999. It makes sense when you consider that this game was made by the same people as Parappa, another game with timeless visuals. The gameplay is also very different from other rhythm games, as it sees you maneuvering through obstacles to the beat of the music. Depending on your performance, the graphics will range from smooth if you are doing well, to shaky and deformed if you are doing poorly, and Vibri herself will continue to warp and shrink before eventually dying if you continue to do poorly. Gonna be honest here, I'm not that good at this game, so there are many points where the visuals are shaky, reflecting my initial ineptitude at this game. This game features a tutorial stage to help you learn the ropes, but for whatever reason, and it's likely an emulator glitch, by the time I was required to push the X button, it would send me back to the main menu. Thankfully, this never happened during proper gameplay. We have to push certain buttons to correlate with various obstacles, such as X for spikes, or R1 for loop-de-loops. Later in the game, we'll be greeted to obstacles that combine 2 hazards together, which will require us to push 2 buttons at once, correlating with the 2 individual hazards, something that will definitely throw you off at first. Eventually, I did warm up a bit to the gameplay, and I thought I'd freestyle during my runs for a bit of extra flair. I'm still not perfect though, since this game does require precision timing to successfully vault over obstacles. The game only has 6 levels, something that would have passed during the NES years, but not during the peak of the PS1 days. Thankfully, there is a feature that makes up for this that I will touch on later. The music in this game is, how do I put it, extremely Japanese. Yeah, I think that partially explains why us Yanks never got it. The singers will switch between Japanese and this adorably broken English that you can barely understand. It's also just weird. Very weird and experimental music of a style that I won't even begin to categorize. There will be moments where the music will drastically change BPM, going from slow to frantic in 6 seconds and then back again. Despite its weirdness and Japanese-ness, or because of it, I really like the soundtrack. Now, I mentioned that this game only has 6 levels, and when I saw that and the time it took most Let's Players to 100% the game, I was planning on tearing into this game for that. However, this game has one brilliant feature that not only makes up for that, but arguably is one of the main reasons you should play this game. You can swap out the game disc with a CD of your liking, and the game will generate a level to each specific track. Does that mean I can play Vib Ribbon to black metal? Oh my god, yes I can! This is the best thing ever! As crazy as it may sound, it actually fits perfectly. So yeah, this game has ostensibly infinite content. For a PS1 game, that is extremely impressive. There are a few PS1 games with level creators, such as the Tony Hawk games and V-Rally 2, and I do love those. The Park editor in Tony Hawk 2 blew my mind as a kid, and I spent hours toying around in it. But randomly generated levels are something that, as far as I'm concerned, are even rarer in PS1 games. If there are any other PS1 games with this feature, please do inform me in the comments below. But seeing any of the two in a PS1 game is always a nice treat, and the custom music feature combined with the randomly generated levels make Vib Ribbon a game you could sink hours into as a music lover. And given that this is a home console rhythm game, that's even more admirable. I tell you, whenever I make my next band retrospective video, I'll be sure to listen to at least one of the albums reviewed while playing Vib Ribbon. Vib Ribbon is, in my honest opinion, one of the best PS1 rhythm games of all time. Granted, there aren't too many of those, so that's a very easy accolade to gain. But still, the only problem I have with it are the lack of mainline content, there really should have been a few more original tracks, and the sometimes iffy button timing during gameplay. Nonetheless, Vib Ribbon is a damn good game that America should have gotten. Well, there was an announcement that Vib Ribbon would be released on PS4 back in 2014, but I searched the PlayStation Store and found nothing. Although it apparently was released on PS3 and Vita in North America. Why not PS4? I don't know. So yeah, technically speaking, America did get it. In the dying days of the PS3 with barely any advertising. No, I will not change the false advertising in the video title because I want your attention, goddammit. I'm not certain if it's still up though. I did find a webpage for it, but I don't have a PS3 to verify if it is truly still available for purchase. Believe it or not, but Vib Ribbon actually ended up getting a Japanese exclusive sequel in 2004 called Vib Ripple. Well, calling it a sequel though is kinda misleading since it's a very different game, lacking those iconic black and white vector graphics, and featuring Vibri jumping on a trampoline. It's more or less a spin-off, and one that apparently got very little attention given the fact that the Wikipedia article for it is practically a single paragraph. There was also Mojib Ribbon, a spin-off featuring a different character. Again, Japanese exclusive. So good luck trying to play it outside of emulation, and that would be the end of Vib Ribbon's story. An interesting curiosity from the makers of Parappa the Rapper that barely made it into America. Personally, I'd recommend emulating it if you can, since that's the easiest choice, plus you can slip in your favorite music CD of choice. I really think that in a fair world, Vib Ribbon would have seen a wide-scale North American release. It probably wouldn't have been that successful since Americans were in the beginning stages of wanting to exclusively play games where you shoot and blow things up, something that would become really bad once GTA 3 came in with its clunky open-world jank. But hey, Vib Ribbon could have still gained a sizable cult following, and since people were still buying CDs in the early 2000s, music lovers could have had a field day with it. I know I certainly have. But unfortunately, Vib Ribbon remains yet another case of a game us Americans were shuttered from for unknown reasons.